You see, we are created in a magnificent vibration, in an absolutely magnificent vibration. Born risk takers. Free. That conditioning takes place after birth. You can change it. It takes guts. It takes goals. How do you know something? You're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, my God, I'm going to change something. I always say, keep reminding yourself that you have tremendous reservoirs of potential within you, and therefore you are quite capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You really can. I don't care what the cynics tell you. Quit listening to some of your peers. Now all you must do is figure out how you can do it, not whether you can or not. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You've got to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to do it right now.
If you can see it, you can do it. But the beautiful truth is you can do anything. We got to know there is a place. There is a specific frequency. And if you get on that frequency, you're going to attract what you need to you. This is what it's all about. Why have you been endowed with such awesome powers? If you'll make a committed decision, this I'm going to do. And you don't have to know how. You do not have to know how. The second you make the committed decision, you flip your brain onto the frequency that you have to be on to attract what you have to attract to manifest the thing that you want. If you can see it, you can do it. It's got to be something you want. Wants come from inside. Act like you're already there. Walk, talk, speak, live like you're already there. Don't set a small goal. Don't set something that doesn't really wind your stem. Set it so big it jazzes you. It really gets you going. When something of a very high nature resonates with the very high side of you, you'll know it. You'll know it. You will feel it. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. The only prerequisite, do you want it? Not do you need it, not could you do it. The only prerequisite is, do you want it? Take the lid off your marvelous mind and dream. For goodness sake, give yourself the right to do that. Get your analytical mind out of the way. Put it in your pocket for a while. All you're doing is exploring, daydreaming. What did Lawrence say? All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind waken the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes to make it possible. This I did.
Hey everybody, welcome to Freedom, Health and Lifestyle. Of course, FHL, this is where you're at. And of course, this is episode 84, Identity Shift for Success. So we're going to get into this. Joe, I've got some interesting things to go through. I've also got a little clip of a video there of Tony Robbins doing a course at the moment, but we'll get into that in a second. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, click the notification button so that you'll be notified when we're on, usually around the same time every week. And of course, this is personal development with a lifestyle plan, right? Pretty straightforward. Right, Joe, say hello.
Hello, good day. This is Joey Magawaya from Sydney, Australia. Mike, I am so happy and grateful that we are able to come together once again, and do what we believe is, we are contributing and make an impact in our journey throughout the people that we believe that they open-minded to take a look at what we share with them. So I can't wait. I'm looking forward for tonight's episode.
Yeah, well, look, why don't we just jump straight into it, right? So identity shift for success. So changing your identity to succeed isn't about faking who you are. It's about evolving into the person who naturally achieves the success you want. It's a mindset shift that affects your habits, beliefs, and actions. And here's some kind of tips on how you can do that. One, define your future identity. So who is the person that has the success you want? You know, what habits, skills, and mindset do they have? How do they think, act, and make decisions? 2, shift your belief. Replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Example, instead of I'm bad at public speaking, say I'm becoming a confident speaker. Use affirmations and visualizations to reinforce your new identity. Change your daily habits. Identity is shaped by repeated action. If you want to be a fit person, act like one. Exercise regularly, eat clean, and sleep well. Ask yourself daily, what would my future self do? Then do it. That's a good one, that, you know. Surround yourself with the right people. Your environment influences your identity. Spend time with people who reflect the success that you want. Learn from mentors, books, or even virtual communities. 5, act as if. Behave like the person you want to become, even before you fully feel like them. Confidence, discipline, and success allows or follows action, not the other way around. Reinforce with rewards and reflection. Acknowledge small wins to reinforce new identity. Keep a success journal to track progress and lessons. Success isn't just about doing, it's about becoming. And what kind of success are you looking for? I think that question at the end is quite personal to anybody that's watching, Joe. You know, like, what kind of success are you looking for? Because you can't, like, if like, to be honest, you know, it's really a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Because if you know, like, you have to transition into this new person, into this, you know, you have to grow into this new person. You know, like, I'm not going to get the lifestyle that I want, you know, as the person that I am today. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to have to do something different. I'm going to have to change my habits, change my action to get the outcomes that I want, right?
Absolutely, Mike. You know, the headline or the topic tonight is clearly identify that we need to identify what we should do to make the success that we want in life. And tonight we always start with a great video from Bob. You have to know, you know, where you are. You have to know what you really, really want. And I think that's a very important question that a lot of us miss to ask daily, weekly, monthly. What do I really, really want? Because sometimes we do something that we don't want. We do something because of what our parents want us to do, what our, you know, spouse want us to do. But sometimes we forgot to ask, what do I really want? You know, quit listen to the outside noises and the external noises. What do I really, really want? And I think even myself, I'm as learning as I'm going on the journey. I constantly try to remind me of myself what I really, really want. You know, even in what endeavor I do, whether it's at home, you know, at army, or at my full-time professional and my business. You know, it's good to always remind, you know, what do I really, really want? What is the end goal that you want to achieve by doing this, by involving in this? So great topic tonight, and I'm glad that you brought up this one so that we can share with our audience.
Well, let's hear what Tony Robbins has to say. This is like, he's doing a summit at the moment. You know, Time to Rise Summit. This is day 2. I actually had it on yesterday, day 1. I was listening to day 1 yesterday, and I was up early this morning. I was listening to this, and I thought this is very interesting. So I'll have a little listen, see what he's got to say. Apologies for any ad break interruptions. We'll just kind of skip by them quite quickly. And of course, don't forget, you can find this on Tony Robbins' Facebook or YouTube channel, which is Tony Robbins. So go and check that out and have a look and watch it. It's a 3-day webinar.
The time to rise up past our past our limitations, to rise above our past stories. I got to tell you, last night I was so touched reading again all night long, all of your videos, and some of you decided to write what your old story was, what your new story was. How many of you read other people's posts and were inspired by them as well? I'm curious. Make a little noise out there if you did. what I said before is so true. You change your story, you change your life, because your perspective, your narrative controls what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. The way you think, the way you feel, what you'll notice, what you'll appreciate. Don't change your story. It's a challenge. And there were so many great people that were so vulnerable. And I really think vulnerability is power, because it's where change comes from. People are not looking for perfection. None of us are perfect. In fact, I think perfection is the lowest standard of all, because there is no perfect, right? So when you say I'm trying to be a perfectionist, what you're really doing is trying to prove that you're really committed, but all you do is beat yourself up about not being at that level. So there was just so many extraordinary vulnerable shares, and so many people that had insights about the truth versus what they told themselves, and you could see the freedom that was brought. But there's also some people still, like I actually left a message, like, 3 or 4 in the morning for about 8 minutes, a video I made for one woman, because I just felt her desire to change. But her story of her past was, probably 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And her story of her new story was maybe 20 seconds. And even in the middle of it, she pulled things from her past and brought it forward. So one thing I want you to make a note of, say, the story doesn't really have impact. A new story doesn't, unless a new state comes with it. A new story only has impact if a new state comes with it. So when she was talking about this, she was still in the state of having talked on and on about what happened in her childhood, what happened in relationships, what happened in business, what happened with her body. And by the time she's done, she was, my news story is, and her shoulders are down and her voice is like this. And so the news story had no impact. So we need to shift not only the story, but the state. Now, most of you did that automatically. Your new story lifted you. It created a compelling future. It shifted the way you look at things. How many got some really nice changes out of yesterday and the feedback you got from the different parts of yourself, ladies and gentlemen? Awesome. And I really encourage you to continue to use those archetypes. If you've got something you're struggling with, you can write it down on paper what it is, and then get up and put yourself in each of those states, your warrior state, your magician, your lover, your sovereign, and have them tell you the answers. Because so often people say, well, I have this voice in my head that keeps saying I can't do it, or you're not good enough. I said, well, yeah, that's right, because that's the voice of the personality running the show. Time to change personalities. There's another part of you that is confident. There's another part of you that knows you can find the way. How many of you have a part inside of you that knows you'll find the way or you'll make the way? Make some noise if you know that's inside you, ladies and gentlemen. But if we don't select that part of ourselves and put it in charge, especially when we're dealing with difficult situations, then look, there's a part of me that would, could go back and feel sorry for myself and my childhood, all those things. If I let it, I just don't let it be in charge. You have to decide which part of you is in charge, which is what today's really going to be about. Because today, there's the glue that holds the story together. And that glue is something called identity. And we're going to cover that today. But just as a quick recap, and hopefully all of you are here. I know we have about 100,000 additional new people today. It's pretty wild. So welcome if you joined today. But yesterday we talked about several things. We talked about everything is patterns, right? That if you start realizing that it's not.
Joe, I'm just going to pause it there. I'm going to maybe hop on forward a few minutes, right? But if you're watching this, Joe, you can find this on the Tony Robbins Facebook, YouTube channel. I'll just show you here. Look, Tony Robbins. So go to Tony Robbins and you can see day one. There's where day one was yesterday. And there's another day. I started watching that a little bit earlier just by accident. But I probably got about nearly halfway through this morning. But I'll just go forward just a little bit so that we're not doing the recap, so that you can go and do that yourself. Right, hold on a second. I don't think we have to go that far. Let's have a look. Maybe.
Focus on relationships, because how many saw burgundy and called it red just so you could have another red? Let me see your hands. Right? See, my point is, when you believe something, you will color things to match your belief. If you think.
Let's have a look. How do I do this? I didn't know you had this function here.
Now, none of that is true, but if you believe that Paula was a manipulating bitch, would that affect the way you interact with her a little or a lot? A lot, right? So your beliefs about another person are more powerful than even what you think they are, and I'll prove it to you. What if you think of a great friend you have, somebody's a real dear, dear, dear friend, and imagine, if you would, that dear friend one day treats you really mean, really harsh. Now, you're going to feel hurt, maybe angry, because that's what's behind anger is hurt. But if you can't resolve things because you got to go to a meeting or they got to go to a meeting or something, what will you probably do later in the day? Most of you, if you believe this person is your friend and they love you and they care about you, you will rationalize their behavior, won't you? You go, they're probably having a bad day. How many of you ever having a day where you hope someone rationalized your behavior? Make some noise if you know what I'm talking about, right? So what I want you to understand is that your belief about the person is more powerful than even their behavior. You will find a way to rationalize the behavior. Similarly, if you think this person's a liar and a cheater and a manipulator, and they treat you real nice, what's going to be the first thought in your head? What do they want? How many follow this? Make some noise if you're with me on this. So the identity you hold for a person controls all your relationships. And by the way, how many of you have ever had a wrong or a negative identity about somebody, and then you got to know them, and what you believed about them was total BS, and you felt bad about it? Make some noise if you've ever had that experience, right? So make a note. A belief is a poor substitute for an experience. A belief is a poor substitute for an experience, but we respond to our beliefs as if they're absolutely real. In fact, that's the challenge in our society today. People have a certain belief, they see the world through that filter, and someone else has a different belief, sees the world through a different filter, and they all both think they're wrong. It used to be that, like, we agree to disagree. We still love each other. Today, like, people don't even want to go to have, lunch or dinner or holidays with someone who has a different political view. It's so ridiculous.
Joe, I just want to get your thoughts on that. The belief is a poor substitute for experience. That's really interesting, especially, when you think about the world that we live in, where we're constantly being bombarded, with information, news, different things. And you form beliefs about things. For example, you might form a belief about Trump. You might form a belief about, Russia. You might form a belief about something, right? So, like, belief is a poor substitute for experience. So how do you change that? How do you just kind of say, no, I'm not believing anything anymore that anybody tells me unless I go and find out for myself? How do you deal with that? I think you're muted, Joe. Hold on. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. I think, Mike, I go back to what Tony Robbins said before, that when you believe in something, you color the thing or the picture, because we think in picture, to match our belief. So this is remind me of the episode of Bob Proctor that we go through a few years ago. We thinking in pictures, and we grow up in an environment that program us to whatever picture that we believe in it. And even though that we carry that belief with us throughout the year, from very young age to teenagers, adult, and now we are more mature now, we still have that belief with us. And if anything that come to interrupt that or to try to interfere with that program, it takes time. It takes time for us to change or adjust or calibrate so that we agree. And I think you and I think our audience can relate. There's a lot of things in life, and especially nowadays, like you mentioned, in politics, and what happened with the health in the worldwide global scale. There's a lot of things that we don't agree with it. And I think that what he said, I believe, is a poor substitute for experience. Yeah, yeah. It's the experience and the belief are totally different things, because we grow up believing something else, and then we experience, in reality, we experience different things. And how can we respond to that? And Bob encourages us that most of the people nowadays, they don't think. That's why they react to circumstances and also things that they experience in life, because they don't have the awareness. The people that survive in this world is the people that they have the very quick to aware of the situation and adapt. And I think that's one of the things that I learned from, how that we can, using our belief to match our experience. It's by the way we think. It all comes down to shift, and we start with identify what we need to change so that we can become successful. And either is to wake up a little bit early in the morning, or do a few calls during the day, reach out to a few more people, or eat healthy, or do exercise, work out twice a day, or play any sport. It's the way we think that create the change. And because the experience, a lot of people can hold on to the old belief, but things have changed nowadays, and our experience, it's not aligning with what we thought or believe when we grow up. So we have to think in a certain way, like we've been learning about the science of growing rich or getting rich. We have to think in a certain way, and we have to adapt. You said something about vulnerability. I think it's,
he was talking about vulnerability as a place where growth can happen.
It's one of the greatest power, and I think I agree with that. Sometimes our struggle and our challenge in life that can bring us the best in us. That's why a lot of people, and I can relate to that. That's when I was in the middle of the in a crisis with my health, in a hospital bed. That's when I realized for things to change, I have to change, and that's when I turned around my life completely in a different direction, because I decided on that moment, because I was struggle, I was burnout, I was exhausting, I ran out of things. I was, and I burned out myself, and I said, look, this is my reality. What can I do about it? Do I need to live unhappy until I die, or do I need to grow up, be a man, and admit this is my situation, but I want to go there. And that's when I changed the way I think, changed the way I live, and the way I talk to myself, talk to others. And it's a great experience, and it's things have changed in my journey, and I'm grateful that I be able to share that with the people around me.
Brilliant. Well, let's see what else he has to say, Joe.
Ridiculous, right? It's just an extreme. We've thrown our pendulum. Of course, it's going to have to balance out at some stage. But my larger point is this: beliefs create and beliefs destroy. They create the opportunity or they destroy it. They build the relationship or they destroy it. They make you move forward or they make you pull back in fear. All that is based on beliefs. But the most powerful belief of all is identity. And here's why. I'd like you to jot this little note down. Identity is the most powerful force shaping your personal identity, shaping your life. In other words, identity. Identity is what shapes the way we think, the way we feel, what we do, what we fail to do. Identity is the power that's shaping your whole story, my friends. Some of you try to change your story, like the woman I described, but she didn't shift her identity. She was still the victim from, she was growing up in an environment where her mom gave her up, and then her adopted mom didn't treat her the way she deserved or she felt or was mean. And then she stacked all of these identities on, I'm the person that has been wounded. And the wounded person tried to create a new identity or a new story for the future, and there isn't one for a person who's the victim. She wasn't trying to be a victim. She was honestly trying to push herself forward. That's why I respected her so much. That's why I gave her some coaching. But still, she was stuck in the old identity. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Say I. Write this down. Identity is the most powerful force in the human personality. Identity is the single most powerful force in the human personality. And what is that force? That force is the need to stay consistent with the way we identify ourselves is the most powerful force. The need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves controls our life more than any other force on earth. In other words, the belief you have about who you are is more important than what you hope to do. You would say, I have this goal, I want to do this, but if your identity is, I always come to the edge and pull back, then that's exactly what you're going to do. Because the only way we know how to make decisions, how would you know how to decide something if you don't even know who you are? In fact, when we talk about some people, around age 40, sometimes 45 or 50, some people have what they call an identity crisis, where they start to question everything they used to believe about themselves, about their life, about their business or career, their family, their relationships, everything. And it looks kind of wonky. But I want you to know this is a natural process. It seems more extreme for some people than others. But most people go through a period of time, 5, 6, 7 years, and then doing something they've committed to. And then they tend to question, like, is this really what I want to do? I've done this for so many years. Is this really how I want to live? Is this really who I want to be with? Is this who I want to be? Who's had these questions before? Who's had this experience, ladies and gentlemen? And a lot of people freak out about it. But it's part of the natural process of personal evolution. You don't need to be freaked out about it. I've dealt with millions of people, so the pattern is clear everywhere on earth. It doesn't matter what culture you're in. This is a human thing. We go for a period of time, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, could be 8 or 9 or 10. Everyone's different, but somewhere between 5 and 7 years for most people, if they commit to something, and then their brain starts to question. And when you question a belief, when you question what you've been believing, you induce doubt. And that's useful, because if you have a negative belief, it might be time to start questioning it. See, if you said to me, Tony, your best friend here, John, you think he's your best friend, but he's lying behind your back, he's taking advantage of you, my response would be, you're totally mistaken. John's my friend, right? Identity. But if 5 people tell me this is what John's been doing, I might start to go, is John just manipulating me? And the minute I ask the question, I'm no longer certain. Remember, a belief is nothing but a feeling of certainty about what something means. Well, if you start to question it, you produce doubt. Now, with doubt, you're uncertain. Now, you're not sure how to respond. So our goal here is, let's see if we can uncover the power of your identity. By the way, identity in business, we call brand. And when you build a brand in a business, and by the way, when I say a business, how many of you, again, own your own business? So I get a feel, give me a thumbs up if you would. If you're out there, outside, a little noise there. Such a huge percentage of my audience, sure. But if you don't run a business and you want to get a raise, you want to move up, what's going to determine whether you move up or get that raise more than anything else is the brand, the identity you have amongst the team. Are you the person that always leaves early? Are you the person that always finds the answer? Are you the person that runs over other people? Are you the person that collaborates and makes it happen? So the beliefs about you in a company will determine whether you move up or not, your brand. Your brand, if you own a business, determines whether people do business with you. I mean, I'll give an example of the powers of brand, but first I want you to get how powerful a belief is. Your beliefs are the controlling force in everything you think, do, feel, and experience. And most of us didn't select our beliefs. So part of what I've done for decades, the reason I created my Unleash the Power Within event, anybody's been there. In fact, yesterday, one of the people I called on shared about her experience when I asked her what changed her life. I didn't know that had been to the event, but it was this thing we call the Dickens process. And it's about a 3.5-hour process we do that basically finds your most limiting beliefs. How many of you have some beliefs that intellectually you know better, but they still get you? They pull you back. Make some noise if you can relate to that in some way. So those beliefs we know better, but they're in us. So that's why, this is something it takes, 2 or 3 days to prepare for, and then we do 3.5 hours, 3 hours of, but at the end of it, these beliefs are out of your body. They're not just intellectually gone. They're no longer there. They're decimated. And that creates a freedom for you to become something new. Anything you've ever done, how many have ever done something that you're not proud of, that perhaps you hope no one will ever discover and you'll never do again? Who's ever screwed up in some way like this? Say, I. If you beat yourself up about that, like, how could I have done that? Let me give you a little clue. You couldn't have done anything else based on what you believed at that time. If you believe this is the only way, if you believe it's the only way to keep your security, the only way to have love, the only way to break through, your behavior may not be really great based on a belief if it's a belief that's limiting. So our beliefs control everything. But the most powerful belief, as I said, is identity. We've got to stay consistent with identity. So I'll give you an example. How many of you out there, because by the way, this is why I want to talk to you about it today. To change your life, you change your story, but for your story to really change, your identity's got to change.
Right, Joe. I just want to try and get your opinion on, obviously he's talking about beliefs. We had touched on this a couple of weeks back. In fact, we touch on it nearly every week, actually, that a lot of the beliefs that we have they're imprinted on us from a very young age, by parents, experiences, friends, family, the outside environment, that shape us. But you're saying some very interesting stuff. What's your opinion on that?
I like how he refer identity to our brand, and I remember we did a brand challenge last year. It's all about who you are, and how can you present yourself so that people can relate it to you in whatever endeavor or business you try to promote or share with people. And I think it's very powerful that because to really focus and really look at our identity is a very important things in our belief. Because as he said, the most powerful belief that we have is our identity. What we believe is it's like we're talking about health and wellness. It's what we eat. It show up in our in our physical body. If we don't eat the right food and stay do the right activity, we won't be able to have the right physical body that we need or health that we need. And I like how he refer identity as our brand, and it's so true. In the business of that we involved with, we are promoting the health and wellness, and we believe that it's important for the people to have the health that they should have, to have the longevity, to have the wellness, because it's very important. Because we believe in it, and we've seen the change and the transformation throughout the people that we share whatever product or service with them, transform their life. That's why we're having a strong belief when people are healthy, they can enjoy more of life, because they can enjoy having the physical reward, maybe financially, or having a good lifestyle, because they have the health and because we believe in that, we share that with other people through in what we share in our posts, in our podcast, and what we believe in it. So very powerful concept, to be honest, but I think Bob used the word, it's a lot of people familiarize with it but don't understand it deeply.
Yeah, I think it does take a little bit of study. And Tony Robbins is doing an amazing job of explaining it, actually. And just so that you know, like, this is his Time to Rise Summit, day 2, the power of identity. And of course, if you go to the Tony Robbins channel, you can see that here, Tony Robbins on YouTube. There's day 1. Definitely worth watching. I watched that yesterday. I'm about halfway through this one right now. And of course, we've got day 3. So it's a 3-day event. I would encourage anybody, if you're looking to change something in your life, like Tony Robbins was saying, you've got to be prepared to change some things, right? So, and that starts with how you think. It's never the other way around. It's not with your actions. It's how you think first. Because as Bob Proctor would say, your thoughts control your feelings control your actions control your results. And if you're not getting the results that you want, it's about changing how you think, or how you approach it, how you're looking at it. You've got to change your position. And he's always talking about leveling up, and that's what it's about. It's about growing into this new person. The video again at the beginning that we'll play at the end as well really does cover all of those things about how to move yourself forward, how to shift your identity, act, walk, talk like you're already there. Ask yourself a question. If my future successful self knew how to do something, how would I do that? And then do that. So it's very good. So yeah, check out Tony Robbins' page on YouTube. Day 1, day 2, day 3 of the Time to Rise Summit. I think you'll enjoy it.
That's the core controlling force of a story. Make sense? And if you want lasting change, like the reason I put the 4-day event together, and that is it's a conditioning process of changing beliefs and changing identity. So it's in your body. You're not thinking about it. It has to be something that goes beyond just intellectual understanding, or you'll understand it, but you'll still go back to the old approach once again. So for us, here's an example. How many of you used to smoke cigarettes and then one day you stopped and you've never gone back? Who here? Raise your hand or give me a thumbs up if you're at home there in the chat box. Okay, great. So if I came to you, the people that said I used to smoke and I don't smoke anymore, if I came to you and said, would you like a cigarette? Would you say, what brand is it? No, you would say, no, I'm not a smoker. Notice the language of that. No, I'm not one of those. So jot down, we know who we are two ways. We know our identity by who we are and by who we're not, right? I'm not one of those. That's part of how you define yourself. Now, what's interesting about identity is most of us are living an identity right now, a set of beliefs about who we are and what we're going to do or not do, how we're really going to live. That often is in conflict with our goals. We have this big goal, but our brain doesn't think we can really get there. And if we don't change the identity, you aren't going to get there. It doesn't matter how hard you work at it, because your identity will sabotage it. Let me give you a metaphor. If we set the temperature in the room you're in right now at, let's say 71 degrees, and the temperature in the room drops from 71 down to 68, 65, somewhere around 62 degrees, who knows what's going to happen? Well, something in the computer is going to go, whoa, 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 right? You're a 72 degreeer. What are you doing here at, 62? In other words, think of this metaphor as we all have a set point, an identity of who we think we are. It's beyond what we want very often, right? But it's who we think we are. This is who I really am. I want those things, but this is who I am. That's the conflict. And if that was a metaphor for 72 degrees, was the metaphor for 72 degrees is how much love you can take in and be comfortable because it's what you're used to. Or 72 degrees is how much you're going to earn. Not what you want to earn, but what you're used to earning, your comfort zone, your identity is your comfort zone. Or 72 degrees is, where you're supposed to be, let's say, for you intellectually. Or that's how you interact with your kids or how much you connect to God. It's this level, you get it? But if that level drops, 72, 68, 62, there's a point when the heaters kick on and go, this is not good enough. Who's ever felt like things got so bad that you woke up and said, now this has to change, and you didn't go any further? Who's done this? Make some noise if you know what I'm talking about.
That's how I was feeling last week, Joe. Do you remember when we were talking about frustration?
Yeah.
I was talking about how, nearly the whole of January had gone by, it has now, and I hadn't really kind of progressed or made as much progression as I really would have wanted to. And we were talking last week about frustration and how to put it to use. And thankfully, I was able to do more this week, which was much better. And again, confidence building, strengthens your belief and things like this. So I think this is a good program for anybody to watch, I think, just to help. So, yeah, let's carry on.
That's because you hit the bottom part of your identity. And so what happens is the heaters kick on and say, get your butt in gear, lose that weight, make this thing happen, do something like that, and push and push and push. Now, some people, when they get down there, they try to push and they run out of energy, intellectual, emotional energy, or physical energy, and then they just drop down and lower their set point. And those are the people whose standard of life keeps dropping. But most of us push back up. We heat up, and we get back up to 72 degrees. But you know what happens sometimes? Sometimes you start getting on a roll. You get through the flow of things, and all of a sudden you're doing better than you expected. 72, 74, 78, 82, 88, 92 degrees. And all of a sudden the brain goes, hey, what are you doing up here at 98 degrees? You're a 72 degreer. You don't belong up here. You're an imposter. This is not who you are. And what happens? The first thing that happens is the heaters stop. You stop growing. You stop going for it. And if that's not enough, the air conditioners kick on to bring you right back down to where you think you deserve to be. Who here has ever gotten to the edge of what you thought was your great goal in life and business or relationship, and then right as you got near the edge, you sabotaged it? You did something stupid that messed it up. Who's done this? Make some noise if you know what I'm talking about. Now, if you go to some pop psychologist or someone of that nature, they'll say, oh, it's your subconscious is, sabotaging you. No, it's not. Your subconscious is just keeping you within your own current identity. And the way to change it is expand your identity. If you expand your identity, you'll change everything. Remember, identity is the controlling force in everything you do. If you see yourself as an overachiever and I come by and want to try and sell you a Toyota Corolla, you're not going to buy it. It doesn't matter if it's the best deal on earth, because that person who thinks they're the best wants whatever they think the best is. They might think if they have a green tendency, they might go, I'm a Tesla. If they're not, they might say a Ferrari or, a Rolls Royce or a Bentley or whatever it is. They don't want that car. But if I go to somebody whose identity is I'm practical, they go, why the hell would I be so stupid, even if I have the money, to waste that much money on a car? That's pure ego and stupidity. That's the answer for someone with a different identity who's more pragmatic. How many follow the difference here? Say I. And by the way, if you're in business, right, if you work for anybody, you must know what their identity is. If you're a marketer, if you're in sales, if you're anything, people don't buy products. They buy identities. Why does one woman buy, a Louis Vuitton purse and spend $5,000 or more for something that really costs about $40 to make? Well, another person goes to Kmart and gets a purse and goes, I think this is awesome. I paid $19 for it. Is one right, one wrong? No, they're both buying their identities. We all behave consistent with our identity. So if you want to change your life long-term, hear me now. The whole secret to long-term change, the thing that you saw we did with Stanford, is because we get people to truly change the conditioned identity they have. And I don't tell you who you're not supposed to be. Who the hell am I to tell you that? But I help you figure out what it is you really want and then lock it in. And we lock it in with a new set of beliefs that make it happen. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about identity. Now, think about this as an example as well. If you look at anybody who finds a way to succeed, like a Tom Brady, if you know football here in the U.S. If you're overseas, you probably don't think that's football. We call what you do soccer, and I know it's football for a bunch of you over there. But the truth is, in our country, best quarterback in history, in his identity is I'm the comeback king. I can be down by 10 points in the fourth quarter, and there's only 2 minutes left, and I'm going to find a way. Now, he doesn't always, but his belief, who I am, does that. That's who I am. That's what I'm called to. I'm made for those moments. That's a very different belief than someone's like, holy shit, how am I going to get this done? Can I really get it done? Those two people are going to not, one's going to maximize their capability, may not always win. The other one's clearly not going to. If you look at somebody like Lance Armstrong, and he has a mixed reputation today because of using drug use, but he was one of the greatest athletes in history. But, he amped himself up, which a lot of these players did. But why did he do that? Well, if you know Lance, and I know Lance personally, he's actually a really good guy and understands the giant mistakes he's made. And he's redeemed himself, I believe, in what he's doing these days and how he's giving back. But the bottom line is, you got to remember, this is a guy that was diagnosed with cancer. Now, his belief is, I'm a winner. I find the way to victory no matter what. This is who I am. So when he got cancer, and imagine someone says to you, you have tumors in your lungs, you have tumors in your testicles, and oh, by the way, it's kind of inconvenient because you ride a bike for a living, and you have tumors in your brain. I mean, most people I'm dead. But Lance's thing is, no, I find the way to victory. I'm find the way to health. And sure enough, he built this whole, concept of being strong and transforming, and he beat cancer throughout his whole body. Well, that belief that I find the way is why he also said, find the way to be number one in the world, which include doping, and justified it because other people are doing it as well. So whatever we believe in our identity, we are going to do. So we have to be very conscious about what identity we create for ourselves, because here's what happens. Have you ever had something you said you're going to do, you needed to do, and you get right at the edge of doing it and you pull back because you're afraid of failing, or you come up with some excuse and then you procrastinate, and then you're supposed to do it again and you promise yourself you're going to do it and you don't follow through again? Well, if you do that 5 or 6 times, after a while, you don't want to beat yourself up all the time. So you develop a new belief. I'm a procrastinator. But once you believe you're a procrastinator, you're going to find brown everywhere, right? You're going to find reasons to procrastinate because it's who I am. You're never going to achieve what you want, but you're not going to feel as bad because I'm just one of those. So you have to be so careful. So write these key words down. Whatever you attach to the words I am, Whatever you attach the words I am with enough emotion and with enough consistency, you will become. I'm going to say that again. Whatever you attach the words I am.
All right, Joe, I just want to show you something here, right? Let me see. Hold on. Look, this is your Facebook page. Look, you are worthy, you are deserving, you are capable, you are enough. You know, like you could very easily change that, all of that into, you know, those affirmations. You know, I am worthy, I am deserving, I am capable, I am enough. Do you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. It's all very interesting, Joe. And of course, look, this is where you can find Joey on Facebook, facebook.com/Joey Unger. And you can see Joey's identity. Look, he's a businessman, you know, he's in the army. Look, he's on a magazine cover. Oh my God. Unbelievable, Joey. So what are your thoughts on what he's talking about? You know, like there's no doubt when he's talking about, you know, change your conditioned identity. That's very interesting. I suppose we were talking about that just a moment ago. We never kind of said it quite like that, but we're talking about those program beliefs that you learn from an early age, you know, through your experiences and through influence from, you know, parents and authorities and news and all that kind of stuff. The belief system is, I suppose it is everything, isn't it? You know, you've got to expand your identity. I can see what he's talking about, because even in our business, you know, like when we started our business, you know, started it from scratch, from just an idea. And of course, you know, we had some success. And then, of course, we got to this level. And just like he was describing, you know, we kind of stayed at that level for a little while. We just plateaued. We just stayed there. There was no reason for us to stay there. But we were getting big quick. Do you know what I mean? And I think maybe, I wouldn't say we froze, but we didn't. I think we became fearful that we were going to get too big. And we would even say things that we didn't want to be this big corporate company. You know, we wanted to be this cottage industry type, you know, organization. And that's where our mindset was. That's where our belief was, that we wanted to be this little cottage industry type thing, you know, doing what we were doing, you know, but where we were going was more big, little company, little, big company, you know, professional organization, corporation. And maybe at that time, you know, my personal belief was cottage industry, but Kate and I were saying cottage industry, do you know what I mean? You know, personal, bespoke, all this kind of stuff, as opposed to, you know, my identity being, I'm a professional, you know, I own a big company, you know, and now today we say much different things, you know, when we're talking to people, you know, we're Ireland's largest, most recommended, most trusted, probably Europe's largest independently owned. And these are all true, you know, so that identity for our company brand is so true. Do you know what I mean? But I had to grow through that. You know, I had to change the words, you know, because when people first would ring up and would say, oh, yeah, well, you know, we're a little company, we're this, we're that, you know, it wasn't until we started saying things like, well, we're Ireland's largest, most recommended, most trusted, probably Europe's largest independently owned, you know, and then, you know, that builds confidence as well. Do you know what I mean? So expanding your identity, you know, to become that person, to give yourself that gap to grow into, you know, even just by saying it. This is where the vision board is important, you know, for seeing where you want to go, having goals, you know, not just goals, but, you know, goals are the specific steps that bring your vision to life. Do you know what I mean? So it's about having that vision, that clear picture. But look, listen, Tony Robbins is definitely saying it better than me, for sure. But what are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, it's come down to what we believe, and I think, you know, our belief create our identity, and I think it show up in the way we act, the way we talk, the way we show up, or the way we dress. It you know, or the way we.
This week is the only week I don't have my jacket on. I don't have my suit jacket on. It's the only week.
Hey, when it's cold, you have to dress in a
Hmm.
winter coat. You know, I can't
I left
even
the heater
myself.
off. I
I
left the
was
heater off
about
in the office.
I was about to put on a jacket because I just thought to put a jacket, get ready for the next interview after this. But you know, in our living room, there's no aircon, so I have a fan with me. So that will do for
Well, it's your
now.
summer, right? It's your summer. It's my winter, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but in saying that, it'll soon be spring. In a month's time, it'll be spring, and in a month's
Mm,
time for you, it'll be autumn. And the funny thing is, I was thinking about you yesterday because when I was watching day one of this Time to Rise Summit by Tony Robbins, and again, you can find it on his YouTube channel. I would encourage people to go and watch it. You know, he was talking about the seasons, and he was talking about there's a time for planting. You don't plant in the winter. You know, you plant in the spring. You know, and then you have to go through that harshness of maybe summer where it's really hot and everything else, and then when it comes to fall again, and then your life becomes easier again because then you can harvest, you can reap what you've sown. So I definitely recommend for you to go and watch that because you'll enjoy that.
mm.
I enjoyed it, but but as soon as he started talking about seasons, I thought Joey loves his seasons.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so true because it relates to life too. You know, you know, uh, growing up in the island, um, people live out of the land, and people, in a certain, they know the season is, they
Mm,
know where to plant because, like they said, the experience, and they've and if someone want to change that, they can tell this is what we experience from, and educate the other person to understand why, because it's been passed on from generation to generation through faith and through
mm.
belief, and it's become part of them or being. So it's natural for the local or the islanders to realize this is the season to grow this type of plant because from our ancestor, pass it on to us. We believe in the season, and in the season we have an activity to do in a certain way in the season because this is our experience. It's fruitful. If
Mm.
if we if we try to force to grow a certain plant in the wrong season, from our experience, it's not going to work. It's not going to harvest a good. It's not going to have a good harvest. But it's the experience through what they've been developed from time to time. It's very important that the belief um, create from those experience.
All right, Joe. So we'll watch 5 more minutes of this, right, and then we'll leave it to people's own devices to go and check it out for themselves. Or if you want, we can even pick it up next week as well, because like like Tony Robbins is giving like a free seminar here, 4-hour free seminar. Um, and if you really are wanting to change, there might be some clues in this on how to do it, especially if you're looking to change in your relationships, change in your business, change in your job, whatever it is. You're looking to progress. And as Bob Proctor says, we all want better. We don't have to accept what we've got. We can be grateful for what we've got, but there's nothing wrong with wanting better. And to start that process, I suppose you need to look at your beliefs, those self-limiting beliefs. That was interesting what he said when he was talking about your beliefs create or destroy. I thought that was very, very interesting. Very interesting. You could probably do it. You could probably get more into that. But anyway, listen, we might get into it.
Mm.
With enough intensity and enough consistency, you will become. Remember we said yesterday, if you tell a lie big enough, long enough, loud enough, sooner or later people believe you. That was Goebbels for Hitler. Most of us are Hitler to ourselves. We tell ourselves a limiting story, a limiting lie, a limiting identity belief over and over again until we believe it. And once you believe it, you find support for it. You see the brown everywhere, even when it's really beige. How many follow the metaphor here? Say I. So to go to another level within ourselves, We got to be able to be in a position where we redefine ourselves. Now, how do we define ourselves in the first place? How does that happen? I'll give you a great example. During the Korean War, more American soldiers were turned by the enemy than any war in the history of America. When I say turned, where they started to support the other side. How do they do this? Well, people assume that they did it with the leverage of pain, like abuse and beating people up until they just break. Well, everyone will break at some point if you torture them enough. That's why torture doesn't always give accurate information, not to mention the fact that it's inhuman. But in North Korea, they had a different strategy. The communist North Koreans would bring a soldier in, and instead of like harassing him or beating him up or berating him, they'd have him sit down. They have him in an isolated cell all by himself, so he can't communicate with anybody else. He's there for days and days and days. His mind is going. They finally call on him. There's a lot of fear in him. They bring him in. He's filled with fear, which, by the way, you got all kinds of biochemistry firing off when that's happening. And he's hanging on. He's going to commit. He's only going to tell his name and his serial number and his position. That's all you do if you're a soldier. You've been trained. And the guy says, hey, relax. We're not here to beat you up. Look, man, we didn't come to your country and invade you. You guys invaded us. But we think it's just because you don't understand. I mean, in our country, we have a different system. It's called communism, but it's so much more fair than your country. I mean, you got to be honest. We're not here to beat you up. We're not attacking you. We're not dropping bombs on you. You're doing that to us. And why? Because we have a different system, because everybody's employed. We provide a job for everybody. That's what communism is. And they go on, and this goes on for hours. They give them a cigarette. They don't give them anything too good. They just make them feel comfortable, and they talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. And what happens is, after 8, 9, 10, 11 hours, the brain's conscious mind filter kind of disappears because you're tired, and the subconscious is more available. And then gradually they simply ask them questions as the person's worn out. Again, they've not been mean to them once. There's no threats. They just say, man, come on. We're going to be here all night. Can't you just admit something simple like the truth? Like, you have people living homeless in your country everywhere. We have no homeless. Everyone has a job. I mean, can't you just acknowledge that? Fine. Okay, so you have a job. People do something. Jobs aren't great. It may not be great, but there's no one out there being homeless. Fine. All right. That's true. I'll give you that. They go, okay, let's write that down. What do you mean write it down? Just write it down. Come on. It's the truth, isn't it? And what they do is systematically, slowly ask questions. And when they ask questions, they get people to be nodding their head, yes, yes, yes. And by the end, they've written a paragraph or two about how the communist system is so much more fair than the capitalist system. And then they say, okay, well, go back to your bunk, no problem. And they send them back real nicely. And then they read the person's essay over the intercom system. So all the other soldiers now, when they finally get out, well, what the hell are you doing? Did they beat you up? You don't have any bruises on your face. What did you really say that? And the person has to figure out. There's like a gestalt in their mind. And they go, well, yeah, because it's true. In that moment, their identity changed. They suddenly shifted, and they did it by just getting them to do something different than they believe. So write this down. The way we judge our identity is by our consistent actions. And there's only a problem with that, my friends. How many of you think, can a mean person be nice at times? Yes or no? Give me a little feedback. Of course they can. Can a nice person be mean? Yes or no? But here's the problem. If you get in a state where you do something mean over and over again, after a while, I'm a mean person becomes your identity, and then that's all you see and that's all you behave. Or I'm a kind person. It could be a positive identity or a negative identity.
Joe, this stuff's really interesting, right? Which is why I always say, look, I think if you got to know me, I think you'd really like me. Do you know what I mean? I'm a good guy. Do you know what I mean? Try to be, my best. But again, I'm sure I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay too. You be you, I'll be me. I think we'll get on just right? So, and I think, I'm probably going to watch, like I had this on all morning. I've already listened to this once, and I'm hearing stuff, for the first time. So it's definitely worth studying some of this stuff, especially if you are trying to grow, which we are. We're not settling for what we've got. We want more. And of course, look, links are in the description. If you want to reach out to Joe or reach out to myself and start a conversation, because that's all we're really trying to do: start a conversation. Help people to see a bigger picture for themselves. And we have access to some tools and some mentorship. People like Linda Proctor and others that can help with that. And if you don't know who Linda Proctor is, Google her. Go to her website, lindaproctor.com. Tell her that Joey and Mick sent you, and she'll know how to help. But Linda was Bob Proctor's wife, and if you don't know who Bob Proctor was, check him out too. He was one of the world's best prosperity coaches, right? He was contributor on The Secret. Wrote the book You Were Born Rich, and again, that book You Were Born Rich. There's a whole course on that which we studied. And of course, you can go back on our videos and you can follow along on that. And I would encourage you to do that because it's probably one of the best courses I've ever done or been on. And this course was done in the early 80s, I think, based on how they look and the clothes and everything else. But it's a quality course, even today. What do you think, Joe? Are you muted? You are. In fact, before you say anything, what I want to get Joey's final thoughts. I always look forward to Joey's final thoughts. Hold on. Where's your final thought? There you go. Joey's final thoughts. Episode 84, identity shift for success. Right. Go on. Take it away, Joe. Let me hear what you've got to say.
Absolutely. Mike and also our audience for tonight, thank you for watching. We hope we add value in some way, even though we bring the big people and the people who develop, make the self-development worldwide. Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, this is the people that we surround ourselves with and want to learn from the best. And tonight, Tony Robbins has given us some golden nugget in regards. If we want to be success, we have to shift something, especially our identity. And our identity comes from what we believe in. It's our belief. And our belief has been programmed from a very young age. But by time and experience and season, we have to change. Otherwise, we will hang on for the old belief and we won't be growing. Our belief can be destroy us, can be making us or helping us move forward in life. And I think if we use our identity wisely and have the awareness that we are God's highest form of creation, we have the potential. We start with the video that Bob told us. We have a great reservoir and we understand that we have a potential to change, to shift the way we live, the way we success in life. Because the biggest thing that we have to change is our belief and our identity. And the way we do that, it starts with our words. Tony Robbins dropped some gold nugget tonight. If you can say to yourself every single day, I am, instead of I am not worthy, I'm not capable, change it. If you change your words, you change your life. If you tell yourself every single day when you wake up in the morning, I am God highest form of creation. I am worthy, I am capable, I am trustworthy, I'm honest, I am I'm prosperity, I am abundance. You will see the change in your life. Change your words, you will change your life. Keep telling yourself those beautiful words, those positive words will change your identity. And the people will notice the way you show up, the way you dress, the way you talk to them. It's unbelievable, because we have to tell you, me and Mike have to remind you, you are amazing, you're a special human being, and you were born rich, you were born to be abundant, to have prosperity in life. And the way to do it is identity shift. And if you shift your identity to positivity, to empowerment, to inspiration, to optimism, you will change the way you look at your life, the way you look at the world, the way you look at wealth, the way you look at prosperity, and you start to attract those things because you shift your identity, you shift your belief to align with those set points. Tony Robbins talk about the room temperature and the thermostat. In our life we have different thermostat. And that's the thing that control. How we feel, how we show up, how we believe, how our identity is. And sometimes we have distraction and we're falling apart. We lose track, and we need to adjust the way our frequency, our identity to be aligned with the set point that has been God given for us to be that person, to have that abundance, to have that prosperity, to share with the world. So to change your world, you have to change something in your life, especially your belief, especially your identity. Identity shift for success. I love you all. We hope myself and Mike McLean, thank you for watching this. We have to remind you, we're proud of you. We wish you all the best with whatever you do in life. We hope that we add value and make impact in your journey.
Thank you, Joey. That was Freedom, Health and Lifestyle, episode 84, Identify, Shift for Success. Don't forget, my name is Mick McQuillan. Like, subscribe, share, click that notification button so that you'll learn when we're on. And of course, again, I'm going to encourage you to go to YouTube, find Tony Robbins' page, and watch day 1. We're in day 2 right now, but why don't you watch day 1? Day 1 was really good. I suppose it's going to set the scene for day 2 for sure. We're looking at day 2. But listen, I'm going to play out with our favorite video. I think there's enough information in this video that, and again, you can find this on YouTube. If you're not sure, reach out to myself or Joey, and I'll send you a link where you can get it. Okay, and Joey's just saying, thanks everyone. There you go. Hello, everybody. And listen, we'll see you next week.
You see, we are created in a magnificent vibration, in an absolutely magnificent vibration. Born risk takers, free. That conditioning takes place after birth. You can change it. It takes guts. It takes goals. Do you know something? You're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, by God, I'm going to change something. Now we say, keep reminding yourself that you have tremendous reservoirs of potential within you, and therefore you are quite capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You really can. I don't care what the cynics tell you. Quit listening to some of your peers. Now all you must do is figure out how you can do it, not whether you can or not. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You've got to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to do it right now.
If you can see it, you can do it. But the beautiful truth is you can do anything. We got to know there is a place. There is a specific frequency. And if you get on that frequency, you're going to attract what you need to you. This is what it's all about. Why have you been endowed with such awesome powers? If you'll make a committed decision, this I'm going to do. And you don't have to know how. You do not have to know how. The second you make the committed decision, you flip your brain onto the frequency that you have to be on to attract what you have to attract to manifest the thing that you want. If you can see it, you can do it. It's got to be something you want. Wants come from inside. Act like you're already there. Walk, talk, speak, live like you're already there. Don't set a small goal. Don't set something that doesn't really wind your stem. Set it so big it jazzes you. It really gets you going. When something of a very high nature resonates with the very high side of you, you'll know it. You'll know it. You will feel it. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. The only prerequisite, do you want it? Not do you need it, Not could you do it. The only prerequisite is, do you want it? Take the lid off your marvelous mind and dream. For goodness sake, give yourself the right to do that. Get your analytical mind out of the way. Put it in your pocket for a while. All you're doing is exploring, daydreaming. What did Lawrence say? All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind waken the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes to make it possible. This I did.